Hey everybody, Tim here with a new series. I have decided to do Dracula, the one that's on Netflix right now, because everybody's talking about it. It's making a lot of waves. There seems to be a consensus about it, which I'll talk about it when I get there. Now, I'm just going to do one review. I'm not going to do one for each episode because there's 3 episodes. But each episode's like an hour and a half. So 3, 4, it's like 4.5 hours movie is how I'm going to do it. Now, before I get into any of that, I'm going to tell a little bit of a story, kind of my background with Dracula, so you can kind of see where I'm coming from. Now, for me, I don't like a lot of classic literature. It's too flowery, it's too, wordy, I don't know, it's just not for me. Personally, it's not what I enjoy reading. But I have tried to read a lot of the classics. For example, I tried Frankenstein, and I sat down, I tried to read it, I could not read it. I didn't like it, and because it didn't grasp my attention, I couldn't follow the story. So years later, I had to take the train to work and to school one day, to college. And so I also, whenever I read, it has to be completely silent. I don't like any sort of a background noise. So I switched, so I can't read on a train, it's too loud. So I started listening to audiobooks. And I was like, what the hell, I'll try Frankenstein again. So I listened to Frankenstein, and I was able to finish the story, but still, I wasn't like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. It's a product of its time, I can appreciate what it did, and stuff like that. That doesn't necessarily mean that I like it. So that being said, few more years go by, and I was like, oh, I found an audiobook for Dracula, and Tim Curry's in there, and Alan Cumming's in there. It's a bunch of different people. The first thing I noticed right off the bat, it's just a bunch of letters. So I was like, oh, didn't know anything about it. So I was like, okay, what the hell? So I listened to it. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It didn't wow me. I realized how far off a lot of the movies are now, but for the most part, I was like, okay, that is what it is. And I've seen a lot of the classic movies like Bela Lugosi and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, well, now my life is complete because I've listened to the book of Dracula. So, fast forward to this show, I actually liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I had complaints and I loved parts of it, and which I'll kind of talk about as we get there. This is from the same people who did Sherlock. So, that kind of makes sense. 3 episodes, 1 season. We might get a season 2, 15 years from now. Who knows? But overall, I really enjoyed it. The first episode reminded me a lot of the book. And you can, just like Sherlock, they take things, they add things, they kind of make it their own. Mr. Harker or Jonathan Harker, and the whole opening scene of the fly in his eye and just him looking dead and did you have sex with Dracula? Oh, of course, it's a bisexual thing because, the writers are very friendly to the LGBT community, so it makes sense. Overall, it was fine. Mina writing letters, and a lot of it reminded me a lot of the book, just Dracula trying to buy property, him growing younger, stuff like that. His 3 brides were actually really interesting. I kind of liked them. And then just the overall premise was really good. Even the stuff they added with the nuns and stuff like that. I was like, this is entertaining. This is really good. I've never understood the aspect of him getting older to younger. I understand it has to do with blood and stuff like that, but you don't see it a whole lot. You never start seeing him re-age if he goes without blood. So that's one of those things that I personally have always been bothered by. When he goes to attack the nuns and the whole line of he's like, they can't even look at me, you're naked and they're nuns. I was like, that's great. So stuff like that I really enjoyed. And then of course finding out that Jonathan Harker is the one who invites him in because he couldn't kill himself, I was like, oh, that's a great little twist. And then him wearing the skin, I was like, oh, stuff like that. It's really entertaining. It's really kind of interesting to see how they made this their own character, their own little storyline. Episode 2 followed right in suit. I do remember a lot of the book being on the ship and him eating rats and stuff like that. And the whole premise is, it's entertaining, it was interesting, but it was a lot slower because, you can only do so much on the ship. And then the whole, who's in cabin 9? And, Mina escaped, the Mina dressed as a nun escaped, but then Sister Agatha is actually, still there. So I was like, oh, shit's getting real. And this is where everybody stops. This is where, everybody starts breaking apart on their opinions. Me personally, if I was involved with the writing, the production, stuff like that, I would have continued the story to do one more episode in the same ilk, of the rest of it. And then I would have done a season 2 that was more like the third episode, because then you got a middle and you got a close. This one is out of nowhere. He sinks and then they jump 123 years into the future, roughly the present, somewhere in there. And I mean, a lot of people are really upset because you got this great period piece and then you completely stray from it. And I don't know, like, I would rather have had a third episode that was about him getting to America or something like that, and then for whatever reason getting locked up, and then have season 2 basically be what the third episode premiere was. Because the third episode, I do like it. I think it's a really interesting story. I think it's entertaining, just like the first 2. But you could have taken that premise and broken it into 3 pieces and made a whole another season out of it. Like, you got season 1, that's him in, what was it, the 1400s? You got season 2, boom. Now we got him in the present. And I think that would have worked perfect. Plus, being a money cow, you could have milked some more money out of it. The whole it moves so quick that it's almost entertaining how bad it is. Like, oh, somebody gave him the Wi-Fi password, so now he has a lawyer. You couldn't have, if that was an episode, you could have stretched that out and made it make more sense. The Van Helsing having cancer, again, I want more. I need more details. The child zombie was terrifying. Like, that was, oh my God. So stuff like that. And then finally, the character that's being burned alive, again, like, I want more details. I want to see more of this rather than let's take all of it and boom, cram it into an hour and a half. And finally, by the time we get to the end, you fast forwarded through all of these points so quickly that by the time you get to the end and it's like, oh, you're just afraid to die. Sunlight doesn't actually hurt you. You can enter rooms, but you want to be invited in. All of these like myths that are actually just him being scared. It's almost like body dysmorphic issues that he wants to be accepted. And it's like, what? It's just, I don't know. It was way too fast for me. Like, the first 2 took their time, and the third one is like, let's jump to the end right now. So I don't know, I still enjoyed it. I think all of the acting was supreme. I thought it was really entertaining, and I did really like it. But I don't know, the third one, everybody like is talking about that third episode, which I don't know, maybe that's what they wanted. But it definitely needed to slow down. Like, even if they had broken it up into just 2, so then you got 2 episodes and 2 episodes, just give it a 4-episode season, something. But that's my biggest complaint, is how fast it moves. Because the material is so rich with everything they added and stuff like that, that I don't know, it's difficult when it's that quick. So I'm kind of curious to see what all of you guys think. Thank you guys for everything, and I don't know, who knows, maybe there'll be a season 2. I don't know how they would do it, or what they would do about, or what the creators are going to do. Maybe they'll do Frankenstein or something. So who knows, but I will see you guys next time.